Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another session of International Coaches Summit brought to you by the Basketball Embassy. Today we have Coach Esteban Cabalol.
Correct.
Yes. He is the founder and head coach of Atomic Hoops in Spain. He's also the coach of the sub-16 and the sub-17 team for ACB in Cantera. And today his session is titled Developing Talent and Discovering and Developing Talent that leads to excellence. And so, Coach, welcome. And we are excited to have you, and let me know how I can help.
Thank you, Patri. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Here in Spain, it's 11 o'clock in the night. And it's a good time for me to talk with you because my son and my daughter is sleeping. So now we have time to talk about basketball. First of all, I want to give thanks to Coach Lasson to invite me to this clinic, and other coaches, you, to stay and listen the things that I want to say about basketball. In the second way, excuse my English. I want to try to do it in English all my presentation, and if I have any doubts, Patri will help us to resolve any problem. Another thing, I will talk during 35 minutes, and I let the last 10 minutes for questions. So you can use the chat, and you can write, you can think and write your questions. And after these 35 minutes, I will answer your questions. So let's begin. I have one presentation for you. So I begin to share. Okay. Patri, you confirm me it's okay?
Yes, it looks good on my end.
Okay, perfect. So this is the part one of the player development, the way to the highest level. All the things that I explained to you, it's my idea. It's here in Spain, coaches and clubs have different ideas about how to describe talent player, or how to develop a player, maybe if it's a talent or maybe not, or how to discover if it's a talent. So this is my way. So I want to let it clear, because it's my way. My way is based for now 27 years of my experience like coach. So let's begin. Okay, I want to explain to you about the 7 global parameters that I define, in my opinion, every player. Every player can be defined with 7 global parameters. If we get the maximum level of these 7 parameters, it's possible that player becomes a professional player. Okay, so it's very difficult. So now I want to describe these 7 different global parameters. The first one, it's a sacrifice capacity. So when we pick any player, any young player to play with us in ACB club, one of the things that I look for, it's his sacrifice capacity. Here in the photo, you can see Sergi Llull. I suppose everybody knows who is. It's a Spanish selection. It's point guard. Now we have a snap. We have a photo when Sergi Llull have 15 years old. It's a very good example. It's a very good example of sacrifice capacity. So when he was young, he tolerates pain. He wants to practice every day, every hour, a lot of hours. He works with pleasure, even tired. So for the coaches, it's wonderful because every coach wants players like that. So it's one of an important global parameter. So sacrifice capacity. So another one, the second global parameter, it's emotional control. Another thing that sometimes look for a player, it's how good is controlling his mind, how good is controlling himself. For example, under pressure, at the finish of the game, with the rest of teammates, when something goes wrong on the game, when something goes very good on the game, if have leadership capacities, how competitive or winner is that player, and honor, values, for example, not only in basketball. So how good is at his home with his family, how good is in the school with his friends, with teachers. So it's how this player control his context, emotionally talking about. So how to control these things. So I put in this list different things, but I suppose other coach can complete this list because it's about emotions, how he controlled emotions. In the photo, you can see Luka Doncic now in NBA with 14 years old. So you can imagine that player when he left his country and arrived to Spain without fathers, without mother, and goes to a flat with the coach. And it's very difficult for a younger player leave their country and goes to another country, another language, and begin to practice and begin to do it okay because everybody wants everybody wants to do it okay. So Patricia, todo el mundo quiere que lo haga bien, ¿no? Y él tiene esa presión.
Yeah, so he's saying that, you know, Luka was under a lot of pressure to compete and do very well, and so having emotional control of that pressure is really a parameter that for him he feels is a very necessary expectation for development.
Exactly. So imagine with 14 years control these emotions.
Yes.
Another global parameter, it's the technical level. So here in the photo, you can see Ricky Rubio with 15 years old. So if any coach remind, Ricky Rubio begins to play in ACB League like professional with 15 years old. So in this photo, he's playing with Juventud de Badalona in professionals. So why he can arrive to play in professionals with 15 years old? So one of these best things, one of the best parameters he had in that moment, now of course, his technical level, how he run. It's good running. I'm talking about coordination, for example, because it's tall. He ran okay, rolling, coordinate learning ability, shooting, of course, how good is on dribbling, how good is on finishing layup, different layups, how options have in the air. Footwork is good on his feet, on her feet, sorry, no, his feet, on passing. So all the skills, all the technical level, how good is a player in technical level? Okay, this is the third one, the third parameter. The fourth parameter, offensive tactical resolution. This is one of the best parameters, and sometimes it's the parameter that all the coaches see before. Oh, it's very good because he scored a lot of points. Okay, everybody see that parameter. Everybody. Oh, he solved offensive problem fast. So, for example, here in the photography we have Juan Carlos Navarro, La Bomba. He played in NBA too with Grizzlies. He's in Spanish selection for a lot of years, maybe one of the best players in Europe. And he begins to play in professional at 17 years old. And I remind when he was 15, 16, Juan Carlos Navarro, he has not a very good physical body. he has not explosive muscle legs. So why he was the best offense player in Europe for maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons? So because of offensive tactical resolution. It's very good on reading situations. How fast read the screens? How fast read the defense in indirect screens? His follow, his under, its switch is which. So he read very fast. So at the same time, he takes decisions very fast. So this is the offensive tactical resolution. How easily generate advantage for him or the rest of the team. So these kind of players understand the different advantage in the game on offense, understand the offense collective situations. Okay, so when we want to pick a player for our club, or when we want to pick a player for ACB League, so sometimes one of the best items that we want to know is how good is an offense tactical resolution. Obviously, there's the other part. So the defense tactical resolution. Okay, not only the good player is offense. So sometimes I want to decide. I want to know how good is that player on defensive tactical resolution. Okay, it's very good on stealing balls. Is very good on fast speed reaction in motion to defense the closeout, for example. How good is on closeout defense? How good is on help the helper? So he know when he stay in last position. So how good is on these situations? So if it's good understanding the collective defense. Okay, now the other team is on the now the other team wants to play flex. Okay, now switching. Sometimes there are players that leads on defense. They are leaders on defense. Right. Okay, and same time, another important thing is rebound capacity. So I think in this page it's not correct bounds. It's not bounds capacity. It's rebound capacity. So how good is? And here I put a photo about our friend Dennis Rodman when he was in high school with 17 years old. Now it's a little bit famous another time because of the Last Dance documental. So in all the world, everybody's looking for this documental, The Last Dance. Yeah. So here we have Dennis Rodman. I think it's a good example about defense specialist and rebounding specialist. So sometimes we can see players with 15, 16 years old that are very, very, very good on this situation. And why not they can arrive to professionals? Why not? It's not only offense the only thing to arrive to professional. Another thing, obviously, it's the physical capacities. Okay, it's very, very, very important. It's very important. How good is on physical strength? How good is on jump ability? Cycle speed. So how fast is on running across the court? Gesture speed. How fast is on a gesture speed? It means explosive gest. For example, crossover. For example, jab. For example, spin seal. For example, drop and break. So how fast is doing this? So this is the cyclical speed or gesture speed. General coordination capacity. So how good is learning in Patricia, motricidad.
Motor skills.
Sí, cómo de rápido aprende.
How fast and how quickly they learn their motor skills in regards to basketball.
Exactly. How fast how fast is on learning different abilities or capacities or maybe moves or maybe things like that. No. Yes. And another thing, muscle elasticity. So for us, For us here in my club, it's very important how if the elasticity muscle, because it means that it's possible he grows a little bit more, and sometimes it's very explosive player in future. Okay, so physical capacities. A very good example of this, of course, it's LeBron James with 16 years old. He was above the rim playing. And now we can, for example, Zion Williamson. For example, Zion is a good example of physical capacities. So they are good examples about this. It not means that the other global parameters don't have it. Of course, they have other global parameters, but I think this parameter, it's one of the. I think this parameter defines him better. And the last one for me, it's the physical height. Of course, for basketball, it's necessary how tall are a player. Maybe in posts, for example, it's obviously, but now in the future, a lot of players in other positions begin to be tall. Forwards, point guards, for all over 6.5, 6.4, 6.7 point guards and shooting guards. And so for me, one of the 7 global parameters is physical height. I think it's good. For example, not the height actually only. For example, actual height. If not performance with that height, is how possible is that this player continue growing? For example, if in my club I have a post, but he's on 6.2, for example, it's not tall. But if we go to the doctors or specialists, we can see in their en las muñecas, Patricia.
Wrist.
Exactly.
Wrist. Yeah.
In waist, we can see how much tall can be arrived approximately. Oh, this player goes late growing up. This goes late, so we need patience. Okay, wait. So here in Spain, because we don't have a lot of volume of players, like in United States, for example, or in China, so we have less players. We need to control better all the players we have. We need to have more patience, because sometimes players that begins to being short, maybe in 17 and 16 years old, begins to grow up fast, and they surprise us. So sometimes we need to take patience and don't discard this player before time, because we can lose players. Probably we lose players, probably. So another focus, another thing that we control is wingspan. When he opens his arms, how long are the arms? And another parameter, it's foot size, because how much big is his foot? Because when a player begins to grow with the foot, and then the legs, and then the body, and finally the arms, and finally, so it's a good item. Mm-hmm. Okay, now this is a development diagram. So it's a diagram that you can see these seven items that I talked before. So offensive resolution, technical level, emotional. So now imagine it's a hole, and there's a net, like a spider net. It's a net. So we have a player, and he begins to fall to the professional wall. So if we want to stay in the professional world, we need that this net being very big. How much surface ocupa, ¿no? ¿Cuánta superficie ocuparía un jugador de talento dentro de este círculo, ¿no? ¿Cuánta superficie ocuparía?
So what he's saying is how much would a athlete that of this capacity, how much surface in this circle would he occupy in regards to the 7 to the diagram of the 7 parameters that he has listed.
Okay, so now we have, let's begin to put examples about this, for example. Okay, for you, for all the coach that are listening this meeting, this clinic, for you, which are the best, the most important development items? Which are for you the best, the most important items? For me, this sacrifice capacity and emotional control. If I have in my, if I have the possibility to pick players from other clubs to play with us in ACB League, or maybe in my team under 17, under 16, one of the first things that I see when I go to see other games about this player is these both items: emotional control, sacrifice capacity. Okay, but we train this. Imagine I go to different games to see a player. These two things, sacrifice capacity and emotional control. But another question for the coaches: you practice this in your trainings? You practice emotional control? In which ways you practice emotional control? In which ways you practice sacrifice capacity? It's not easy. It's not easy because all the coaches usually practice offense resolution, practice defensive, practice technical skills. Maybe if we have enough money in our club, we have physical department to play physical capacities. About physical, hey, we can do nothing because it's genetics. So, right. But how you practice sacrifice capacity or emotional control? We will talk about this later. So these two aspects will allow to player to. So I think these two items are good because motivate to continue training hard, endure fatigue, do not abandon before a challenge. So respect teammates, coaches, opponents, basketball, and it will make him an example and leader. For me, it's like a pyramid. Imagine a pyramid. If the base of the pyramid it's emotional control and sacrifice capacity, it's probably this player can practice with him a lot of things. We don't lose time with him. The practices are very efficient. So it's about lose time. It's about losing time. We cannot lose time because sometimes we have maybe 3-4 practices a week, maybe 1 hour and a half. So imagine we have players that they don't want to practice because they are tired, because the girlfriend lets this day, because in the classroom the teacher something happens, or maybe have problems at his house. So if our players don't have enough emotional control, it's very difficult to practice with him.
Yeah.
And if we have, yes.
We have a question for you in regards to that. So I'll read it in English and then I'll explain it to you in Spanish. But considering the age of players in their development stage, do you think emotional control is very difficult to judge considering the changes mentally and physically that their players are going through? Entonces, lo que preguntan es que si usted piensa que el control emocional es difícil de identificar cuando están pasando por muchos cambios mentales y físicos y de desarrollo, que si cómo usted identifica ese control emocional cuando están pasando, vamos a decir, por pubertad o lo que sea. Yeah. ¿Cómo usted identifica ese control emocional?
It's very good. It's very good question. It's obviously that if for me it's very important the emotional control. So I need tools. I need tools to discover this situation. So sometimes I talk a lot with my players. I talk a lot, and same time I have friends together, mutual friends. We have mutual friends So I talk with one friend who is friend of this player, so he can explain. Oh, he's passing for a bad moment because today in the class. Okay. So it's very important. Okay, fantastic. I talk a lot with the fathers. I talk with teachers. So it's important to know the context, because sometimes it's because sometimes the context explain us that it's a real and big problem. So it's not excuses, it's not superficial circumstances. No, it's a big problem. So in that situation, it's very important that the coach help the player. Okay, so these are different ways to discover how happens in his context, inside the basket or outside. It's very important outside. What happened outside? So same time, in the practice, we can make different exercises to control, to develop the emotional control or maybe sacrifice capacity. For example, imagine I do it with one team years ago. So imagine that in one practice, I talk with one player secretly, and I tell him, okay, today I will sacrifice you a lot. Te voy a torturar. Dile, hoy voy a ir a por ti. Hoy te voy a machacar. Dice, tradúcelo, Patri.
Sí, entonces, so what he's saying is that if he knows that he's going to put on a lot of pressure on a specific player to help set an example, that he'll have a private conversation with that athlete prior to the practice and let him know, like, hey, today I'm going to be expecting a lot more than usual from you because I want to get this point across, and I trust you, and I trust that you'll be a leader, and so I trust that you'll be able to manage this pressure. And so he has these conversations with athletes to be able to understand and build that rapport, that he's not picking on them, but that he trusts them enough to use them as an example.
Mm-hmm. So there are different ways. So I will explain the second part of this meeting because it's very deep. Every one of these, each 7 parameters are very deep, and we can talk 2 hours of every one of these 7 parameters. Now it's a general vision about. So I continue. For example, now I want to talk about topics in basketball. For example, it's easy to think that a short player cannot arrive to pro. Sometimes, oh, it's short. Oh, poor player. Let outside. He cannot play with my junior varsity team because it's short. It's okay. Sometimes there are surprises. Because, for example, Facundo Campazzo, the point guard of Real Madrid now and the point guard of Argentina selection, it's 5.9 feet. So it's probably a lot of clubs, or maybe a lot of teams, when Facundo Campazzo have 15 years old, we don't need this player because it's short. I have a big player. Why? I prefer this big player. Oh, look, here you have an example about everybody can arrive depending of his height. So take care with this topic. Another one, for example, what happened with the chubby players? Oh, it's fat. Oh, it's fat player. What can we do with this man? Oh my God. He's not prepared to play professional. No. No. But sometimes there are surprises. Because I remember when Marc Gasol stayed here in Spain with his brother Pau, everybody says, oh, Pau is very good because it's tall and thin, but oh, Marc Gasol very bad. Oh, he don't have future. He will don't arrive never because he don't wants to work and he's chubby, it's fat. So look, now you can look. Another error. Take care, take care. And another example, what happened with the weak players? Sometimes, oh, it's very weak. What can we do with this player? It's very weak. In every contact, he falls to the floor, to the court in every contact. So it's probably don't arrive to professional. So we don't lose time with this player. Sorry, sorry. And sometimes the weak players surprise if we have enough patience. For example, Steve Curry, 7 years, very weak, very short. With 16 years, seeing 5.6 feet, it's not as tall, and 58 kilos. Patri, I don't know kilos if it's normally in the United States.
We usually do pounds. Yeah.
Pounds. Oh, I don't know in pounds. But it's very weak. It's very weak. So now in NBA, arrive, and it's another topic. Take care with the weak players, because sometimes are like American captain. They transform and arrive. Now we have different examples about the diagram, about the surface they fill, and we have three players with 15 years old. So we have MJ, Michael Jordan, we have Ricky Rubio, and we have Luka Doncic. And if you see, I have the arrow here. If you see Michael Jordan with 15 years old, because I know everybody knows, because in the Last Dance, everybody can see that he cannot play in the freshman year in the high school. I think, if I remember, he cannot play because he was weak and short. Remember, weak and short. It's not as tall as the coach wants. So he cannot play. So his diagram probably were something like that. You see, offensive is not, he was not good. Defensive, maybe a little. Physical, yes, he was physically explosive. He jams a lot, but he was not enough tall. He was not tall, but sacrifice and emotional control were good. Because his context situation, family situation, helps to arrive to this situation. Now, Ricky Rubio, for example, if with 15 years old, I explained to you before that he plays in ACB League with 15 years old. So the diagram was a little bit different than MJ, because sacrifice and emotional control was good, technical level very good, offensive tactical very good, defensively really good, but physically he was thin and weak, because it's 15 years old. He exploded really in physical when he arrived to the NBA, really. So they in NBA explode physically, but not here in Spain. He was weak. 15, 16, 17, maybe 21, 22, continue being weak. And physical height was really, to a point guard, it's a good tool. And now we have Luka Doncic. If we see Luka Doncic, it's like Ricky Rubio, but he's better on physical capacities, because Luka Doncic, his constitution, it's really good. It's a strong player. It's tall player. So sacrifice and emotional control was very good, and technical level was very good too, and offensive tactical was very good too. So his surface, it's really big. So imagine maybe in 3-4 years, how good he can be. How good he can be in maybe in 3-4 years. I think it could be very good. So look, how much important is emotional control and sacrifice capacity in 15 years old, or maybe early? All the good players arrive to professionals because they have sacrifice capacity and sometimes enough emotional control. If not, if they don't have enough emotional control and arrive, it's because they are very good, very, 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 very good, on another option and another parameter.
So, Coach, another question before you go on.
Okay.
So the question is, we can all agree that everyone deserves a chance, but at what age or according to what criteria do you think it's safe to say that a player is not going to make it at a professional level? Entonces, lo que quieren saber es que basado en su criteria, en la cual situación usted sabe que ese jugador, por supuesto, no tiene la oportunidad de jugar a nivel profesional. ¿A qué edad o qué criterio? O depende de cuánta área llene en su diagrama. ¿Cómo usted identifica qué jugador no va a llegar al nivel profesional?
The diagram, it's an objective information in that moment. The diagram don't show us if he will arrive. The diagram help us to know in which moment of the development of that player stay. So, for example, in this diagram, if I have one player like Ricky Rubio with 15 years old, and I see in the diagram that he probably have problems in the physical capacities, so like a coach, I know that he needs to practice more on this area. Yes, but for example, in the diagram of Michael Jordan, it's probably that a lot of coaches says, oh, maybe he don't arrive because the diagram is not good. This diagram is not good. So, oh, if I take care only the diagram, probably I get wrong. The diagram gives me information about that moment, in that moment. So, like a coach, my job, like a coach, is see, okay, I have a player with 15 years old, it calls Michael Jordan. Okay, in the diagram, I see that have problems offensive tactically. He has problems on technical and physical hay. His physical hay, I cannot do anything. So let's go to practice. Let's go to practice this. For example, now if you see the continuation of this page, like a coach, I will practice offensive tactically, for example, to fill this space because it's the worst situation. For example, in Ricky Rubio, he needs help in this situation, and Luka Doncic, he needs maybe help on defense tactically situations. And maybe in 2 years or 4 years, the start rising up. Not thanks to me, because I work in the spaces that this player needs. This is the key of the development of a player. Which parameters are not enough good to arrive to professionals? So we need to practice that situations. Not only that situations, these situations especially, but the rest, of course too. But we need to take care especially on that situations. I think I answered the question using my diagrams same time.
So you use your diagrams as a reference and then see what areas they fulfill, and then as a coach, you try to help develop the areas that they're missing.
Yes. For example, now you will see in the next presentation, in the next photo, I will explain this. I will explain with example in my team, like me, like a coach. For example, here we have a typical detection error. For example, what do you think like a coach? What do you think like a coach if you make the diagram looking at a player? You go to see different games of X player, and finally you make this diagram for this player. Oh, it's very good on offense. It's very good on defense. It's very good, very good, very good. It's like 10 on physical capacities. Physical weight, it's not a lot tall. It's not tall, but oh, score a lot, steal a lot of balls, and maybe dunks. But look here. What could be happen with this? It's a talent. Take care. There are two options here. There are two options. One option, Maybe it's a future talent. Maybe. Why not? We need to practice this. We need to coach these situations. We need to coach. Maybe we can get it. Maybe not. Because the other option, it's because it's a current player. It's a player of the moment. Because he grows before the rest of players. His muscle grows before the rest of his teammates. But he only uses the force to play. He has no talent. So it's probably don't arrive to professional because he don't grow more, because he is not good on technical if we don't work for him, and probably he don't want to practice with sacrifice, or maybe is not prepared to an emotional control. So there are two options. We don't know. So like a coaches, we need to practice with this player. We need to do it. It's our job. Maybe we don't like to practice with a guy like that. It's probably we don't like because it's a typical player who, I don't want to practice because I'm tired. Coach, I don't receive balls. I want to shoot more. Why you sit me on the bench? Why? It's typical. It's something like that. So our job with this player is try to practice this area. And if we don't get it, sorry, it's problem about the player. It's not our problem, because our job is try to develop this player. So there are a lot of players who don't arrive. They are very good on these situations, but they don't arrive because they don't want, they don't accept.
Right.
So in the clubs, finally we don't pick this kind of players. We don't lose time in that players. And finally, one question you make me, it's when I use this diagram, when I use it. For example, in one season, at the beginning of the season, I don't do it because I don't know my players. We need maybe 1 month, 2 months, maybe after 3 friendly games, maybe I suppose in 1 month, maybe 2 months here in Spain, because we play nine months. So in 1 month, we can begin to make this diagram. So the coach, what he sees of player X and makes the diagram, but same time, it's very important. The player can do his diagram himself. Ask to your players, okay, player X, for example, look at Doncic. Doncic, here you have a diagram. Try to validate, try to put notes, try to qualificate yourself from 0 to 10 about these 7 items, and graphic the area of inside this diagram. And the player can do it. Of course, I do it with my players, and it's fantastic, because can happen 2 things. One thing is, if it does not coincide, we have a problem, which we must solve with personal coaching sessions. Okay, when the diagram of the coach and the diagram of the player he do himself don't coincide, are not coincide, it's very important we talk with this player, because if not, this player begins to hate, begins to become a hater. Oh, coach don't know how good I am. Oh, coach don't respect me. Oh, why the coach sit me on the bench if I'm good? Why? So it's very important know what the player knows about himself, to make a coaching session, to talk with this player. Okay, player X, Doncic, sit with me, please. You say me that you are good on offense, but I think it's not real good. It's not real true, because of this, because of this, because of this, because of this. You put me in the diagram that you are really good on defense, but in the game, I see that your opponent scored 25 points each game. So I think it's not good. So it's important to talk with that player and arrive to coincide, arrive to a next union. So it's the same as, if it coincides, it's a great starting point for both. to set personal goals. Imagine if I make the diagram and my player makes the diagram and coincide, it's perfect, because now we can get together and set personal goals. So now we can begin to practice. Now we can begin the season, really. And sometimes, if the season is very long, we can make the diagram at the middle of the season. Because if the player develop, it's probably he feel some parts of the diagram, and it's success for him. So it's very important talk with him and explain him, okay, very good, you finally feel a little bit more under your diagram. And it's a good joke, it's a good un reto, es un buen reto para él.
A challenge. It's a good
exactly. It's a very good challenge for him. When he see that his diagram begin to be full, oh, it's very successful for him. It's very grateful, and he's grateful with you like a coach, because we help him to fill this diagram, and it's his focus, because he wants to rise to professional, and he knows that if he don't fill this diagram, he probably don't arrive. So we need to play, we need to practice together. We are helping him. Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, now we know where we are, so we can begin to set our goals and work. So for me, this is the first part of the season. So discover in which point are my players and where I need to begin for each one. And after this, begin to build the sets, the team, the defense, all the things, all the team things. But first of all, we need to know where are my players, in which position are my players, and what they need about me to help him. Yeah. So this is the first point. And finally arrived to the finish. Thank you. Here we have Darth Vader. So he have talent, of course. And now if you have questions, it's your time.
Yeah, we have one already. Have you ever coached a player that didn't measure well in the diagrams and surprised you by arriving to play at a highest level? Que si ha tenido un jugador que no llenó su diagrama, que no lo llenó y que al último lo salió sorprendiendo y jugó a un nivel muy alto.
I have one player 2 seasons ago in Manresa ACB club, that the emotional control and the sacrifice was very bad. And all the coaches says me that seasons before, that player have problems with the rest of players. And in that moment, the club thinks about make outside this player, take outside of the club. But I talk with him when I do the diagram. I talk with him and I explain to you, okay, where you want to play in future, in 5 years, where you want to stay in 5 years. Because now your diagram is like this. And he was very surprised about that diagram, because he don't thought that this diagram was like that. And we begin to practice about emotional control and sacrifice a lot. He was the player that I shot a lot more in the team, and the rest of the team, is the first coach who cries to that player. And that player, because we have a communion, we have a pact about this, he tried to control this, try to control, and finally finished the season with a very good level. But when he knows that I don't continue with his generation, he left the club and goes to another club. But he feel a little bit displaced, because there's no any coach who wants in his team. But finally we feel a little bit more his diagram.
Okay.
Because it's only 1 year. It's only 1 year. Sometimes feel the diagram needs maybe 3-4 years.
And then also, could you please show the last screen with red writing? Que si puede regresar a la pantalla que tiene palabras rojas.
This one.
I believe so. Another question is, yes, that one. Another question is, do you think the behavior should be the first point of correction over tech and tact? How do you, if any priority, do you give to each component? Entonces, quieren saber que si usted empieza con lo que es la manera en que participan, entonces la mentalidad y lo que no es físico y desarrollo físico, que si ¿cómo prioriza usted los diferentes parámetros que tiene?
Okay, it's good question. When a season begins, it's very important put the rules team, the team rules. And rules, it means something like emotional, something like sacrifice, work, different rules that we put together. So same time we accept together. So it's the first thing. So I remember in all the seasons, the pre-season begins with maybe 2 weeks of practices that they practice, and I see how they practice. I don't shout a lot. Maybe I only want intensity, fast. Okay. And when they finish in August, maybe 2 weeks of fast, we go to the first friendly game. And in that friendly game, I tell the same. Fast, defense, fast, because my focus is only see how are they really. Not how are they when I say something. No. Play. Yeah. And I take notes. And when finish, I begin the first meeting with the team. Okay, we practice 2 weeks, we play one friendly game, and I see this. Boom. Okay, so now we need to have different rules about the work. So all the team needs sacrifice. It's obligated. It's obviously sacrifice. Second, respect. Second, honor to the club. Respect the shield. Respect the colors of our t-shirt. Third, respect decisions about me. Respect decisions about referee. Respect decisions about a teammate. This is very difficult when there are pressure. Mm-hmm. And we put different rules. And sometimes I let my players put different rules too. For example, what they want. Okay, coach, we want that put music in the locker room when we are on the shower. Okay, perfect. We want maybe take photos of our family in the game. Okay, perfect. We want, I cannot imagine the different things. And we arrive a meeting and they sign. It's very important. Or maybe film, or maybe sign. But we need his, necesito su compromiso.
You need him. He's saying that he needs to establish accountability and the fact that their commitment to the rules.
Exactly. I need their commitment. And when they have this commitment, now I have the power to pick a player. Your commitment says that you will sacrifice for the team, and now you are not doing this. So what can we do now? And the player begins to So it's his job. If he don't respect the rules, boom. And same time, this is not practice the emotional part. So to practice the emotional part in the practice, it's necessary to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
So I explained this in the second meeting about how to practice this with a paper, with crosses, and everybody knows and see these crosses, and it's a competition about who wins or who tolerates more the frustration, the sacrifice. So yeah. There are competitions on the practice, and there are different tools to train these emotional things.
And out of your parameters, do you have an order of priority that you give each of them, or is it based by player? De cómo le da prioridad a cada parámetro que da, si unos tienen más prioridad que otros, o depende de cada jugador.
It depends of the club. For example, in the club that I stay now in Manresa, there are the talent players in the team. Maybe there are 2-3 players that they are talents. They are future players, future professional players. So these 3 players are they have priority. But for me, it's a little bit frustrated. Only work for 3. No, so I try to practice for all. Same time, his weakness point.
Okay.
So, exactly. For example, for the 3 best players, sometimes I work about frustration, about pressure, about doing the things fast. So offensive reading, became better his skills, his abilities, and the rest of players I see in the diagram which are the weak point. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I begin. Let me explain better. Every player has the best point and the weakest point. So at the beginning, we begin for the best point because it's good to win confidence on himself. Mm-hmm. Because if we begin for the bad, if you are very bad on this, you are very bad on this, it's not good about confidence. Yeah. And we need to compete every week. So it's very important that make a good balance about the good thing and the bad thing. So at the beginning, we play a lot and we practice a lot the strong point. For example, you are very good on shooting. Oh, you are very good on shooting. We need to practice a lot of shooting because you are very good. You are very good on shooting. And when his confidence is very high, now begins to practice the weakest point. For example, your defense need to improve because you are very good on shoot, but then you are a big hole on defense. So let's begin to work on defense. Okay, let yourself practice defense. And we begin to fill the empty space of defense. So but not I don't begin for the weak point because the confidence cannot be good for the competition.
Yeah, so you recommend that a coach starts with capitalizing on the strengths, and then once you build rapport, you go and try to develop the weaker points of each player based on the diagram, right?
How you say?
Que empieza con dándoles confianza, con expresando sus fuerzas. Entonces, entre más enseñan sus fuerzas, más confianza tienen y más motivación a desarrollar las que no tienen.
Exacto. Exactly.
Es lo que dije yo en inglés para más o menos es, sumar todo lo que dijo usted. Otra pregunta. ¿Qué pasa cuando quebran esas reglas que si le dice al equipo, que si les dice a todos o al equipo individual? Yes. So we have another question. What happens if they break the commitments that coach mentioned earlier? And then do you recommend that the coach tells the individual or the team?
It depends. It depends. It depends of the age of that team or maybe that player, because if I are a team of 8 years old, sometimes we put it in front of the rest of the teammates and we decide the el castigo, we decide the
punishment or discipline, the punishment or the disciplinary.
Punishment, exactly. We decide the punishment with the rest of the team. For example, if it's 8 years old and the other player needs to respect. But if it's in under 15 players in an ACB club like that, so there are maybe 3 levels. The first level, it's 3 filters. So the first filters is me and the staff. The second filter is the technical director of the club. And the third filter is the directives and the most important people in the club.
Yeah.
So it depends how much big is the mistake, how much big. So if it's something, if it's normal things like break a rule, so sometimes the staff take the decision. For example, you will don't play the next game. Or for example, now you will stay all the week cleaning the balls and inflate the balls and anything. I think I invent anything I can invent. It depends of the how much big is the
severity of the break of the commitment, right?
Exactly. No, because sometimes I don't punish all the team for one problem with one player.
Okay.
A lot of years ago, I do it, but I think the pressure is not good and it's not because you generate problems between them, and I think it's not good. I do it. Years ago, it was normal. Okay, if one player do it something bad, all the team run. Okay, it depends. If he break a rule, you can do something like that. But if not, if it's only in the practice, because all the team is defending bad, all the team is defending without energy. Okay, all the team runs, sacrifice, suicides. Then 5 suicides in 2 minutes. Go, boom, 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 boom. So it's normal. It's normal make punishments for the rest of the team if the team is not working good. If it's a problem with one player, we try to arrange it with that player alone. If it's possible, alone.
Okay. So your punishment is based on, again, the severity of the commitment that they break, and then you don't think that punishing the whole team for one person's mistake is good for the team. Que piensa que, como está diciendo, más reforzando el punto que dijo de que hacer que el equipo entero pague por el problema de una persona, que usted piensa que eso no es bueno para el desarrollo.
No. It's bueno. It's not good for development. But if I pick that player alone and I make a coaching session individually alone, it's probably I make a real big punishment for the rest of the week, maybe. But the rest of the team, it's probably don't know about this punishment.
Okay, got it. Okay, well, thank you, Coach. Those are all the questions that we have. Are there any other ending points that you would like to give?
If I want to put another point.
No, que sí hay algo, como unos puntos finales que le gustaría dar.
Yes, I think yes. The meeting I explained today, it's make a reflection for the coaches about how much important is after begin a season, after begin a training with one team. It's very important in which point stay every player. So at the same time, it's very important when you discover that you have in your hands a possible talent, how much important it's fill these empty fields, these empty spaces of the diagram. And then take care, because when we practice with young players, take care with the fat, take care with the weak, and take care with the short players, because sometimes can surprise us in 5 years. So everybody needs practice. Everybody who help and sacrifice and have enough good emotion for our sport needs us our respect and practice.
Right. Okay. Well, Coach, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. Muchas gracias. Oh, parece que tenemos una pregunta más.
Let's go.
Oh, un comentario. Que muchas gracias. Buenos detalles y buenos puntos. So again, Coach, thank you, Coach Cab. If you want to put your information back on there so that they can write it down and on your last page. and to follow you on social media and anything. They can reach out to you. There's your contact information. But again, thank you, Coach. Thank you for being part of the meeting. Again, International Coaches Summit hosted by the Basketball Embassy. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Coach, saludos. Cuídese.
Muchas gracias a vosotros.
Adiós.
Adiós.